Surging Sparks is finally upon us, that's right. The most anticipated set of the entire year is here. It's got the big, massive Pikachu. And if you're like me, you might have forgotten what's been going on with Surging Sparks because Prismatic Evolution has kind of taken over literally everyone's mind at the moment. And I've got more videos coming out about that with some more product. That's for another video in the future. So yes, Surging Sparks, we'll be doing a set review to keep those up to date if you've forgotten what's in the set, etc. Some amazing artwork. Of course, there's a Pikachu. There's some others in there which, to be fair, I've forgotten about and I've not opened any of this set or watched any videos. So I'm kind of going into this half blind and giving my thoughts on what cards I would pick up now in terms of what could go up in price, in terms of value, from a collection point of view, but also an investing point of view. With the Pokemon market as it is at the moment, I do expect a lot of these prices to come down. And in about a week or 2 weeks' time, I'll be doing my usual price video of what the set's doing in the first week or two after release. And I'm sure there'll be plenty of trends that have been in most of those videos because you shouldn't panic buy. But this might be slightly different because it is Surging Sparks and the current market changes some view on certain cards like the Pikachu. And I feel like I'm saying Pikachu a lot. Let's just get into the set so we can see what the cards are. And this Pikachu, which I keep going on about because it's gone crazy and it's also a very playable card. So naturally, as it's at the top of everyone's mind. But yes, let's get into the actual set and the cards before we waste any more time. Let's get into it. So here we have the set. That's right. So this is just using the Pokemon website. And if you're asking why I don't do these beforehand, I like using the official Pokemon website. And unfortunately, this doesn't come available until the date of release, and I'm absolutely fine doing that. I know others like to get ahead with all this. However, this is the official card, so there's no speculation, there's no guessing, there's no Japanese card and translations, etc. It is the cards that are out that you can open as of today. So I'll be going through some of the cards in terms of if they're playable potentially and some of the artworks. And again, we've got the Stellar Terra Pokemon in this, which is the Scarlet and Violet era of Rainbow cards, essentially. Even though they're not actually rainbow cards, but to me they kind of are, especially if you've opened up rainbow cards from Sun and Moon and Sword and Shield, for example. So here we go. We are starting off with the grass Pokemon, and every set, unless it's like certain special sets like 151, start with grass, and then it goes on to, what is it, fire, water, lightning, you name it. Anyway, let's get into this. So, nothing too special here. Obviously, you've got the Execute here, which with the alone Execute is playable. Obviously, the 30 HP, meh. But the fact is, if you go first, you can still attack and then put the Learning Executor on it. Definitely got potential there. Is a risk at 30, but hey, it doesn't matter if you go first or second. You essentially can get this off and get to your evolution. Durant EX, and Durant EX is a special one because it actually has a special illustration rare, which kind of caught me by surprise in this, but we'll get into that in a bit. Its ability in terms of when you place Pokemon from the hand on your bench, during your turn, you may discard top card of your opponent's deck. Okay, I guess. And its attack is, well, if you compare it to, say, Charizard, because that's the biggest card in competitive play at the moment, it has this kind of effect. It has 30 more damage for each prize card your opponent's taken. So the maximum damage this could do is 5 prizes, so that's 150 damage, plus 120, so that's 270 damage. Actually not too bad. However, 190 HP, which sounds like a lot, but in modern Pokemon, isn't actually a lot at all. So, very risky. Could be a good finisher for a grass deck. We're going for even further down, and we're already into Vivillon. Now, this one here is actually really good in terms of its attack. So, the downside is it's stage 2, so you've got to get to stage 2. But for each of your bench Pokemon, search your deck for a card that evolves from that Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. Then shuffle your deck. Imagine with Prismatic Evolution coming out, having all the EVs there, being able to, like, I don't know, rare candy on the issue, go second, you Vivillon attack, and then you get all your evolutions on the bench. Bam, done, sorted. Probably not what people had in mind with this card, but that's what I'm going for. Now, as a set, it's a sort of medium-sized set, so you see there's actually not a lot of grass Pokemon in this, but that's okay. That's not too bad. We go further down, and although it's not a special card in any particular way, I do love the artwork on this Ninetales. Like I said, its attack is nothing special. It's not playable. It's not an EX. However, as artwork goes, it is actually... So not a lot to say here. Some of these cards are a bit underwhelming. It's a decent amount of fire Pokemon in this set. One thing I will say, however, is this Ho-Ho here, even. Its attack with Shining Blaze for one prizer actually can do 200 damage. And if you're hitting for weakness, that is actually pretty good if you ask me. So yeah. And it's not weak to water. So I'm not saying this card is going to do much. You've got Radiant Charizard at the moment, which kind of fills this gap of role in a sense. But Definitely one to keep an eye on going forward as a single prizer. Fire's got a lot of support in terms of getting energy out. So yeah, it's potential. 200 damage. Actually not too bad. Hey, it kills the grass Ogre, just saying. And if you keep going further, you'll see actually quite a lot of fire Pokemon, as I mentioned. And then we get into some more EXs. So we've got our first Stellar Terra Pokemon in this entire set, which is the Ceruledge EX. This attack does 20 more damage for each energy card in your discard. This attack does 20 more damage for each energy card in your discard pile. Now, will this be a viable attack? Will it do lots of damage? I don't know, but it's 1 energy and easy to do. It's a stage 1 Pokemon. Therefore, it has potential. It's 270 HP, so it's not easy to kill. However, if you play a lot of energy in this deck, which you could do in a fire deck, then there's lots of ways of discarding that and putting it into your discard pile. You could do quite a lot of damage with this. It's probably not hitting more than, I don't know, 200 damage, maybe 230. I don't know, but actually, it's quite a cool card. And of the Stellar Terra basic EX cards, this is probably on the better one in terms of like Ceruledge coming out of the card. I feel like this is probably the better than most of the actual Stellar Crown ones, for example. So I do like this, and in person, it looks really nice. And we sort of round off the fire Pokemon with Scovillain EX, which I don't know why, but I feel like this is a reprint. I'm not actually sure it is. This could see play in terms of it's a fire type, but it counts as a grass type as well, as long as when it's in play. And therefore, it deals double damage to, say, Charizard. Now, I keep saying Charizard is still around, but I know it's not the big deck of the format anymore, but it's still there. And the 70 more damage for each damage counter on this Pokemon actually really needs to do. So, you put an energy on it, you use the molten, whatever it is, the stadium, you've already got damage counters on it, which add up the damage. So, I like this, actually. I do like this card. And then we get into the water Pokemon. So there's a decent amount here. And the big one here we're going to look at is Milotic EX. So it has to have, I think it's an illustration rare, which we'll get onto. The main thing here is its ability. So at the moment, there's a lot of Terra Pokemon that are being played. This prevent all damage from and effects of attacks from your opponent's Terra Pokemon done to this Pokemon. So this could wall quite a lot of decks. And if it doesn't wall completely, you're not killing it straight away. And therefore, it makes it more difficult to kill. And it kind of buys you enough time to do what you want. And its attack also not too bad, 160, but also puts them to sleep. So this could stall some decks out. Definitely looking forward to seeing this in play. Nice little artworks. And then we get into the Black Kyurem EX. I don't think this will see play at all, but one of the better EX cards again coming out. I like the sort of artwork. I guess it comes from my love of Gengar, where there's a lot of them where the Pokemon sort of comes out of the card more in that sort of style. So yeah, a big fan of just the artwork of Black Kyurem in general. And before I carry on, you might be asking, why am I talking lots about the competitive side? Whilst we're going through the main set, I will talk about the card, obviously the artwork of some of them, what it could be in competitive, and then when we get onto like the illustration rares, full arts, etc., I'll talk more about artwork and sort of the value and what I would be looking into buying wise. As I do feel as a set outside of the illustration and above, so basically hyper rares, etc., there isn't much value in this set for like the normal cards and normal EXs, apart from maybe Pikachu X, which we're about to get onto. So for example, we go down and here we are. This is the card of the set, not necessarily this version, but this is a card. Why? It's Pikachu, so naturally it's going to be the biggest one. It's a Stellar Terra Pokemon. It's a basic EX of 200 HP. Its attack does 300 damage. Okay, 300 damage. Kills most things outright in the entire card game. Yes, you have to discard 3 energy from this Pokemon, but hey, if it's free for one-hit knockout, not too bad. There's also a lot of support for electric Pokemon in terms of getting lightning energy and extra energy onto Pokemon, so that could help. And a big thing about this Pokemon in particular is the ability, which is Resolute Heart. So if this Pokemon has 4 HP and would be knocked out by damage from an attack, it is not knocked out and its remaining HP becomes 10. So I wouldn't say it's safe to just play. There are ways of obviously killing it without it, and with Monkey Dory damage, for example. However, if people don't have that, then obviously they can't just one-hit it, and it causes different styles of play. And because of that, it just makes it interesting in terms of the gameplay and what people can do to answer this card in particular, knowing that you might take 2 turns to kill it. The cost of doing that might have lost you the game. So yes, very interesting as a card. And as we get onto the other artworks, let's just see why this is a card that you probably want to be picking up right now. Just saying it. Including probably the basic EX right in front of you. As for Electric, there's not much to say here. It's all pretty basic stuff. This one, however, Magneton does support the Pikachu. So once you're in turn, you may attach up to 3 basic energy cards from discard pile to your Lightning Pokemon in any way you like. It doesn't specify what type of energy as long as it's basic. It does knock out this Pokemon. That's absolutely fine. If it means you're winning the prize race basically by knocking out potentially a 2-prizer or a 3-prizer. They technically do exist, even though people aren't really playing them. With your Pikachu, and you can do that twice. That's like 4 prizes, and you're only losing 2 potentially. Yep, amazing. If you ask me, amazing. And again, it's just like even other cards, for example. Oh, here we go, Tapu Koko. Search deck for 2 Lightning Pokemon, reveal them. Like, that's so good. Oh wait, we've got a Killer Watch EX. I didn't actually know that. Switch this Pokemon from your bench Pokemon. If you do, attach up to 2 basic energy card or lightning energy cards from your hand to this Pokemon. Attack does 40 more damage for each lightning energy attached to this Pokemon. Okay, that's actually not a bad card. Turn charge is pretty good, potentially, if you've got another card that can be put into it, into the active and that, but who knows. Then we get on to the Psychic Pokemon, and there's one card in particular I'm going to look at, but before we do that, I think it's this card here. Here we go. So this is a stage 1 prizer that if you have any Terra Pokemon in play, which, let's face it, nowadays is really easy, this Pokemon can use a double edge attack for just 1 psychic energy. 230 damage. Sure, you do 50 to yourself, who cares? Doing 230 damage for 1 energy as a 1 prizer, it knocks out a lot of basic EXs, a lot of V Pokemon. So, yeah, I actually really like this card, and I really want to sort of playing competitive. Just saying. And I wouldn't be surprised if this being played more. Just put it out there. But the main card we're looking at is, of course, Latias EX. Your basic Pokemon and play have no retreat cost. Pretty cool. Attack, not too fussed about. It's the artwork from the cards later on that are really cool. So make sure you are watching, because, yeah, the artwork for this, in maybe, I don't know, illustration rare or even better, is pretty good. You mentioned Latias, you've got to mention Latios, of course, even though this card won't see any play whatsoever. Moving on, so actually there's quite a lot of Psychic Pokemon. Don't know why there's loads in this one. You've even got these 3 legendaries right here, which are pretty cool. And then Sylveon EX. Now, bearing in mind the next set is coming out with, I think, another Sylveon EX. We've already got one. In terms of playability, I have no idea what's going to happen with this, but we have our first EV evolution in Sylveon EX in a Stellar Terra Pokemon. So we know what the style is going to be. I don't know, actually, a lot of people have Sylveon as their favorite EV evolution, which is pretty cool. But yeah, to me, this is a bit of a meh card, but hey, I'm slightly biased. And just when I thought the Psychic Pokemon are finished, we carry on and we have Palossand EX. Of all Pokemon to have a Stellar Terra card, we get this one. I have no idea if it will see play or anything, but hey, it's nice to see that it's not always the popular Pokemon, it's not always the big Pokemon that get these cool, amazing cards. Moving on to the fighting, and I think this is a bit of a underwhelming group of Pokemon for this set. However, we of course get the Flygon EX. The only downside to this is its attacks look quite good on paper, so you may switch this Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, doing 130 damage. This attack does 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX and Pokemon V. However, it's a stage 2 Pokemon. It's fighting at 310. You give up quite a lot just to do 100 damage to each of your opponent's Pokemon EX, Pokemon V. Unless you've got another way to take advantage of that. I don't see it from a competitive side of view. But again, Flygon is actually a Pokemon that a lot of people like. I know not a lot of people realise that, but yes, a lot of people like Flygon EX. And that's about it for the fighting Pokemon, which is a bit of a shame. Sometimes it gets left out, at least from my side. Then we get on to the Dark type Pokemon. We've had a lot of sets recently with a lot of Dark Pokemon, so I'm not surprised that this set hardly has any. However, it'll have one big card in Hydreigon EX. Hydreigon, however you want to pronounce it. Stage 2. Okay, this Hydreigon, not too bad. Its attacks aren't actually too bad at all. Crush and Headbutt, 200 damage for 2 energy. Really nice. Discarding cards, sure. And then its second ability, dealing essentially 130 damage to 3 different Pokemon. Not a bad attack. You don't lose any of the energy. Not a bad. And again, I'm going to talk about this card now in playability wise, because screw talking about its actual abilities when we come later on. Because again, this card is a much better version and definitely a card I'll be wanting to pick up. After that, we get on to the Metal Pokemon, or Steel type, shall we say, but Metal. And the only one of note here to me, I think, let me just double check I'm not being an absolute muppet, is the Archeludon EX, and that is, I mean, its ability assemble ally when you place Pokemon from your hand to evolve. Basically, you may put 2 basic energy cards from discard pile onto your Pokemon. Obviously, it's got to be Metal Energy and Metal Pokemon, but basically, you could put that onto this Pokemon and attack with it straight away with like 1 energy from your card, 220 damage, pretty standard. Knocks out a lot of basic EXs, etc. Nothing too fancy, however. Moving on, and we kind of get onto some cooler looking cards and Stellar Terra Pokemon in the Dragon type. So, Alolan Executor EX. Now, right at the very beginning of the video, first Pokemon we looked at was Execute, which can attack on the turn 1, even if you're going first, and evolve straight into this. Now it kind of looks cool. Why? Well, essentially, you've then got a 300 HP Pokemon straight away, so not easy to attack. And, oh wait, it's got no weakness, so you have to do 300 damage. Now, I know that's possible with like Raging Bolt, for example, but it requires them from turn 1 to have that on their turn 1. 150 damage in your turn 2 as such, or whatever. Nice bit of damage to knock out single prize, etc. And its second ability is a 1-hit KO from a coin flip. It's not just a 1-hit KO, it's a potential 1-hit KO on any Pokemon. So what I mean by that is, flip a coin. If heads, knock out your opponent's active basic Pokemon. If tails, knock out one of your opponent's bench basic Pokemon. Now, if they're not basic, if it's all, I know, Alolan Executors, it doesn't work. I know. So you don't want copy 4 of each of these cards in your deck. You can snipe quite a lot of cards. Lots of Pokemon. There's lots of basic Pokemon that are out there. That's our EXs. Give away 2 prizes, and this could knock it out. And if you have one in the active and bench, then it doesn't matter what you flip. You get to pick one of them. So I really love the design of this card. Whether it's actually any good, I don't know, but I do like the design of it and where they went with it. Going on to Tatsugiri EX. Again, I don't know if you'll see any player at all, but it's nice to see Tatsugiri keep getting the love it's getting in the Scarlet and Violet era. It's got quite a lot of cards out for it. Quite a lot of cards that are actually useful, support cards, etc. And now it's got its own Stellar Terra Pokemon card. So yeah. I know it's a fan favourite for a lot of people from the Scarlet and Violet era. This is probably one of the biggest cards in this set. And I don't joke about that because with Prismatic Evolution coming out, look at its first ability. As long as this Pokemon is in the active spot, it can evolve during your first turn or the turn you play it. I feel like this is going to be one of those commons that goes to like a $2-3 common. So this is definitely one of the first cards I'd be picking up from like a bulk common, because I reckon you can sell a playset of these for like $5. Now, this is my own opinion. This is not investment advice or anything like that. There's no guarantee it's going to happen, but that's something I can see happening. It's going to be one of those commons that everyone wants to play from a competitive point of view. So I would definitely be picking this up myself, and I will try and do that as of today. There's also some more normal Pokemon. There's a Sucking EX here. I mean, it can't attack unless there's an EX or V in play opponents, which most people have. Great Swing is 2 mana, 280 damage, but it's a stage 2, so I personally wouldn't worry about this card, at least from like a competitive play point of view. And then before we get into the trainer cards, we of course have got one more Stellar Terra Pokemon, and that is Cyclizar EX. It's a basic 210 Pokemon, not too bad. 130 damage for free, does 30 damage to one of your Pokemon. And the draw 5 cards sounds really cool on paper. Let's face it, are you really going to try and put free energy on this Pokemon just to draw 5 cards when there's lots of easier ways of drawing cards and there's no risk of losing 2 prizes to it? So there we go. And Flamigo EX, which I kind of like Flamigo having an EX card. It's quite a fun card, like from an artwork point of view. I don't know if Flamigo's become anyone's favourite Pokemon in the Scarlet and Violet era, but it's a cool looking card. And then we get onto the trainer cards. So I'll quickly go through these, and then so we can concentrate on the artworks that are coming up. So we have our first A-Spec, and that is Amulet of Hope. It's basically if your Pokemon gets knocked out, then you get to look for 3 cards, put them into your hand, which is okay. It's only damage from an attack. We've seen so many people, especially at high levels, be able to get around this type of effect. I'm not going to go through the berries as of like the last set, not too fast. Brilliant Blender, search your deck for up to 5 cards and discard them, then shuffle your deck. Sounds really bad, and I understand that. However, if you're kind of playing a deck that uses your discard pile a lot, for example, having all the energy cards in your discard pile, then you search up 5 of them, put them in your discard. Pretty simple then, if you ask me. Cool, but I've never seen this card. Engage this card if you go second, only during your first turn. Search it for a supporter card. Yep, let's go straight on from that one. So our first supporter is Clement's Quick Wit. Heal 60 damage from each of your lightning Pokemon. Well, if you can heal up your Pikachu to 200 HP all the time with this and some other cards, then no one's ever killing your Pikachu. So not too bad. Very not fast. Counter gain. Sounds cool. If you have more prize cards remaining than your opponents, attacks used by your Pokemon this card actually cost 1 energy less. Draw. Next supporter. Is it Cyrano or Kyrano? Let me know in the comments down below which you think is the correct version there. But search your deck for up to 3 Pokemon EX, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your deck. Actually not a bad trainer card or supporter card. You wouldn't play many in your deck, but 1 or 2 of, especially if you're a very heavy EX deck. Look at the top 3 cards, yeah, I'm not too fussed about that. Dragon Elixir, same sort of thing as the Lightning one. Then we've got Drasna, shuffle your hand into your deck, then flip a coin. If heads, draw 8 cards. If tails, draw 3 cards. I mean, you probably won't see play because it's a coin flip, but Drayton, look at the top 7 cards of your deck. You might feel a Pokemon and a trainer card. You find them, put them into your hand, shuffle the other cards back into your deck. So think of Arven, but only for the top 7. I guess Arven doesn't actually get a Pokemon, does it? Okay, I can see some play for this. Dust Ball, yep. So we've got another ball as such to add to the list at the moment. Look at the bottom 7 cards of your deck. You might feel a Pokemon card, you find that and put it in your hand. So if you get Ionode, but you know what's on the bottom. Dust Ball. Next, A-Spec. Search your deck for any number of basic energy different types, reveal them and put them into your hand. This is actually quite good with the Stellar Terra Pokemon we've got in terms of lots of their attacks are 3 or 4 different types of energy. So I can see this being useful, but very niche to certain decks. Gravity Mountain, not worried about that. Yasmin's Gaze. During your opponent's next turn, all of your Pokemon take 30 less damage from attacks your opponent's Pokemon. I like these kind of effects in Pokemon, but I think I might be one of just a handful like that. In terms of manipulating damage, in terms of your Pokemon do extra damage in a turn or take less damage, it changes the maths and changes playstyles, but I like that in the game. List's Appeal, and we'll get onto this card a lot more as we go on, don't you worry. Switching one of your opponent's bench basic Pokemon to the active spot. If you do, the new active spot, the new active Pokemon is now confused. So basically, boss's orders, and they get confused. However, it has to be a basic Pokemon. So it's not a strict boss's orders, but the downside is it has to be basic, but it also means they're confused. So actually quite a nice card. I can see this played a lot, but obviously not lots of it in a deck, if that makes sense. Carrying on, we've got some more here. Lots of A-Specs in this set, lots of them. So I'll quickly go through them. You've got Megaton Blower. Discard all Pokemon tools and special energy from all of your opponent's Pokemon and discard a stadium in play. If the meta is all special energy, for example, Lugia decks become massive again, I can see this being played. Otherwise not. Miracle Headset. Put 2 support cards from a discard pile into your hand. Bulk. Precious Trolley. Search your deck for any number of basic Pokemon and put them onto your bench. Then shuffle your deck. This, however, could be very good. Why? If you play a lot of basic, like EX Pokemon, for example, that normally you have to keep getting Nest Balls or whatever, you just play this. Especially if you can say, I know, Arven, turn 1 to find this to get your Pokemon. Really cool. Really cool card. Scramble Switch. Switch your active Pokemon on your bench Pokemon. If you do, you may move any amount of energy from the Pokemon you move to your bench to the new active Pokemon. If your deck needs, I can see this being in play potentially in, say, Regidrago. So you have the energy on your Ogerpon, you switch it with your Regidrago, and then you move the energy. So definitely some niche play, but yep. Last A-Spec very quickly. As long as this card is attached to a Pokemon, it provides colorless energy. When you attach this card from your hand to a Pokemon, draw 4 cards. At the moment, I'd say it's one of the weaker energy A-Specs because it's not the first, but not too bad. Last couple of ones before we get onto some amazing artworks. Surfer Dude. Okay, it's just Surfer, but I have to say it. Switch your active Pokemon on your bench Pokemon. If you do, draw a card into 5 cards in your hand. We could see a lot of these like supported trainers become like one-offs in decks. Just putting it out there. Fluorite, discard all energy from this Pokemon, heal all damage from each of your Terra Pokemon. This could be a one-off save, but it's a high cost. But again, if it heals you all up and basically puts you so far ahead, not a bad card. Terra Orb, such a for Terra Pokemon. I mean, that kind of makes sense. And to be fair, I can see it's being played a fair amount. And then Time. Tell your opponent the name of a Pokemon in your hand and put that Pokemon face down in front of you. Your opponent guesses that Pokemon's HP. And then you reveal it. If your opponent guesses right, they draw 4 cards. If they guess wrong, you draw 4 cards. Then return. I feel like I could spend 10-15 minutes trying to discuss this card. But I won't. I'm just don't have the time for this. Right. Now to the bit where I'm going to go more into what I would buy out of these cards in terms of the illustration rares and up. Again, prices are a bit all over the place at the moment with the Pokemon market and just these types of cards. So I'm not going to go to every single one, but just the ones I think are going to do well and that I would pick up if I could right now. Execute's not bad. I think the first one here is this Villain. Look how amazing that artwork is. It is potentially to be played as well, which could help. But this is a card that I think looks absolutely amazing, and I would definitely be picking up this card as much as possible. I don't know what the price is. Like I said, I'm not going to go into prices right now. That's for the next video. Definitely be picking up this card. I know a lot of people like the cast form. I don't, so I'm not going to pull it on my list. Cerulege, I think, is out of that evolution line, the Armory Cerulege. Sharkadet is probably one of the first art rares of it that I actually really like. So I would definitely be trying to pick this one up as well. Feebas, potentially, just because of the Myotic card, having this with it. But again, not too bad. Sphere, a lot of people like this because it's the cute side of it, but I can see this being a bulk illustration art. Box is not going into, just a Titan. This is the big one. Well, one of the big ones. So we've got Latios as an illustration rare. Latias will be coming later, if that gives a hint. But because you're going to have both of them around, I feel like this would be the cheaper version or the cheaper option, but definitely a card to get hold of because it's still an awesome art and it's not too far off the Latios, which we'll be coming on to. But yeah, definitely one I would be picking up personally. Mesprit is one of the 3 legendary from the, was it Sun and Moon era? Have I got that right? We'll go with that. If I'm wrong, just let me know. Not bad, but not necessarily one I'd be picking up. Fampi, again, I know a lot of people like this. Not convinced 100%. For Brothers, cool cards. Clobbopus. For some reason, a lot of people like Alone Dugtrio, and I think it's because it's Alone Dugtrio rather than the actual art itself. But it's a very clean artwork. I will say that about this one in particular. Skarmory, I think this is going to be a bulk one, but in my head, I want to pick up quite a few of these just because the artwork on it is quite cool. And I can see it's going up enough, but we're talking small margins on a card like this, not enough to make hundreds, but you can still make like a 10% margin, which might only be a couple of dollars, but you have loads of them, obviously that adds up. Flapple is part of obviously that line, but I'd actually like this artwork as such. I think it's a bit too cluttered, but I like the style of the artwork, if that makes any sense to anyone. And then we get Appleton, which is obviously on the other side of it. This one I prefer much more. I feel like it's still going to be one of the cheaper ones, but I see it potentially randomly picking up value at some point. Don't ask me why. There were just some cards and artworks that don't do anything and then they go up. I'm still not talking massive. It's probably still under $10, but I feel like it's going to be a couple of dollars and then it goes into a $10 type card. Kecleon, I won't go into. Bravery, look at the art style on this. It is really cool. I wouldn't pick this up now. I'd wait for this to drop in price, but this is on my list to pick up. Definitely, 100%. And I think that's it for the illustration rares. So let me know what you think of the illustration rares. Is it a strong set of illustration rares? Or is this set kind of carried by the secret art rares, secret illustration rares? And I'll explain what I mean by that in a minute. So then we get into, obviously, the full art. So that includes the Pokemon and the trainer card. So Black Kyrium is probably my favourite full art from this set because the background really suits the Pokemon with this the blue lightning energy from it. And it feels like the Pokemon there's an action happening in it and the background is based on the Pokemon rather than just a flat background, which we'll come on to some other Pokemon. I'm going to do the other 2 Pokemon very quickly. So you got Latias. So this is what I mean, where this background doesn't really do much for the Pokemon itself compared to the Black Kyrium. And again, with like the Archludon EX, it's just like it's almost like a green screen behind the Pokemon that they've just done it. Okay. Whereas Black Kyrium, great. So best fill up in my opinion. And therefore I want to pick up more of these. That's on the buy list. Then we get into the Stellar Terra Pokemon full arts. So I'll come back to one in a second. So you've got Flygon. Great to see it's getting some love. Works really well artwork wise in like the full art version for Terra Pokemon in Rainbow. Hello Executor. Kind of same thing. Even this Cyclosar doesn't look too bad, and I guess they're all green based, which might have an effect on it. And then obviously we've come to the elephant in the room, which is the Pikachu EX. I can see this card at the moment being quite high for what it actually is and dropping massively. So this version of Pikachu is on my radar to pick up and buy, but I'm going to wait for it to go down because I feel like this card in particular will go down. And remember that. So when a video comes out and it doesn't, you can all tell me I was wrong. Then we get the full art trainers. So we've got Harino, Cyrano, Drasna, Drayton, Yasmin's Gaze, Lycia's appeal, which we will look at. So it's not a secret illustration rare, which we'll get onto, but it is the full art. So it still has some value to it as a full art. Again, it's the whole waifu thing. I don't truly understand it still. And it probably won't be a video where I ever do. And then we get into the big stuff, okay? The secret illustration rares. I'm going to scroll down so you can just see them all on the page. Or should there not be a Hydreigon EX secret art rare? We'll get to the big ones last, shall we? So we've got Drayden here, secret illustration rare. Not too sure about it personally. We've got Archluden EX. Again, not too fussed about it personally. It's okay. It's a lot better than its full art version. A Lone Executor EX. So this is really nice, and to see it in person, like physically, is really nice. It's not too dissimilar from like the full art style, etc. So like, the uptick from it being a secret illustration rare to me isn't that great, but a very cool card indeed. Then we get into sort of the top 4 from the entire set. Okay, so we've got the Milotic EX. So imagine having the Phoebus next to this, graded, for example. Again, I feel like this card is quite high at the moment, but definitely a card to be on that buy list. Look how amazing this looks with the water, the color scheme, etc. It is a fantastic card. So let alone its playability, just from the artwork, this is amazing. Latios EX. So I know we had the Latios illustration rare, which still goes with this next to it, but this is the big one. I have no idea which one out of the two is the more popular to people, but the artwork in this is amazing. As you've got Latios soaring across like the skyline, and then as I say that, its ability is skyline. So like it's just that perfect sort of card. The artwork, the ability, well thought out card, well thought out artwork. Lycia's appeal. I don't even think this is the second most expensive, but here we go. We have our waifu secret illustration rare. Move over Iono. We now have Lycia, and we've got the Altaria here as well. I must admit, I do like this artwork. It is pretty cool. I still think the supporter cards are overrated, but that's just me. And finally, we get on to the big one of the set. I think in some cases was going for like $400. Yep, that's right. It is the secret art rare Pikachu EX. It is a really cool bit of art with Pikachu on all fours, sort of like it's walking away but looking up at you kind of thing, as its face here, with the grass here. I know it's got the crown on it, and not everyone likes this, but the crown doesn't take away too much from the Pokemon here. It doesn't look too silly, so I do like that. And from what I've seen so far, the pull rate of the set, or pull rates of the set, is actually quite tough. So yes, there'll be lots of people with this card, but it's not easy to get hold of. It's easier than you think. There's plenty of these cards around, like truly, there really is. At the same time, it is still difficult to get hold of. So that's part of the reason why the price is so high, Pokemon market, and it's Pikachu. And it's quite a cool secret artwork. So illustration rare. So I don't know why, but this is the official site, right? And I've just realized, see here, 239. We go to Archluden EX, 241. It is the Hydreigon EX secret artwork. Secret illustration rare. We also have another one in between Executor EX and Drayton, and that is Lamont's Quick Wit. Am I missing any more? Yasmin's Gaze. That's another one we're missing. And we're missing the gold cards. Okay, let's go to... Okay, so we have Durant EX. Okay, that's really bad from the Pokemon site. Normally it's really good. So we've got Durant EX. Not quite the card, as I was saying earlier, that I was expecting to be a secret art illustration rare. Yeah, here we are. Next up, we have the Pikachu EX in the gold. I'm sort of hit and miss when it comes to the Stellar Terra Pokemon and the gold card version. Pikachu being yellow kind of stands out, but to me, she doesn't do a lot. It feels like this is so messy as a card. Like it just doesn't look right as a card. So I know this is going up in price. I'm not too fussed about this being on the buy list, but I can see why it should be on the buy list being a gold card. A Lone Executor EX. Now, this is slightly better. I'm partially colorblind, so this might blend in more for me than other people. Again, I'd much rather have the secret illustration rare than this gold card. So, again, it doesn't work for me whatsoever. Then we've got Counter Gain, and actually, I like this as a gold card just because the actual like item and thing itself stands out. As a card in terms of its being played as a card, sort of, will people put this in their decks as a gold card? Probably not. So this will be one of the cheaper gold cards to get, so an easy one to buy. So definitely sort of pick this up while it's cheap. And the last card of the set, which is the last gold card, is Gravity Mountain. Now, I didn't go into it as a card earlier. Part of me really like this card in terms of I love the stadiums as gold cards because it's a nice gold border, etc. And then but you get like the full art in it. I'm not convinced by the yellow or whatever that's going around it all. So it might be one of those that this card physically in person is better. but the jury's out on that one. So there we have it. That was a set. I have no idea why the Pokemon website doesn't actually have the entire set and missing out so much. I've refreshed it multiple times. Pokemon, do better. Come on. We want to know what's in the set. There's some amazing cards from this set, however. Some cards are very expensive. There's a lot going on with hype and Pokemon market at the moment. Please be careful out there. Make sure you do your due diligence. Don't buy cards if you can't afford it. Don't throw me into it. These cards will always be around in the future, and a lot of them will go down. So make sure you are subscribed to the channel, because I'll have a video coming out in about a week and a half time, 2 weeks time. They'll explain all the prices, and you'll see all the trends in there. And we can go through a better buy list in terms of, if we bought cards now, would we make any money? Or actually, is it just worth holding off for now, keeping this buy list in mind and picking them up when they go cheap, when they drop? And if you like that and you want to see some opening of Surging Sparks, make sure notifications on, because I've managed to get some product, but no, not a booster box. And if you want to know what's going on in the market at the moment, make sure you check out these videos here, and I'll see you next one.